Well, the virus has now killed more than 100 people in China, and new cases have been confirmed around the world.
So you don't want to frighten the American public.
France and South Korea have also got evacuation plans.
But you need to prepare for and assume
strongly warning Americans to avoid all non-essential travel to China.
That this is going to be a real serious problem.
France, Australia, Canada, the US, Singapore, Cambodia, Vietnam, the list goes on.
Health officials are investigating more than 100 possible cases in the US.
Germany, a man has contracted the virus.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
Japan, where a bus driver contracted the virus.
Coronavirus has killed more than 100 people there and infected more than 4,500.
We have to prepare for the worst, always, because if you don't and the worst happens.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome to the War Room Pandemic, and this is another one of our ongoing specials. The CCP's, the Chinese Communist Party's information war against America. So much has been breaking over the last couple of days. Gentlemen, it almost seems like this constant information war. And I'm not even talking about John Bolton's book. But I want to go to what's been happening about this information war. As we know, and my guests are in studio, I got Raheem Kassam, I got the two Jacks, Jack Maxey and Jack Posobiec from One America is good enough to join us. Jack Posobiec, as everybody knows, that watches so, former naval intelligence officer and fluent in Mandarin. We're going to have later in the show Miles Guo to talk about this. But Raheem, you and Jack Posobiec have been at the cutting edge of this, about this information war, this whole big narrative we had in 16 and leading up to 16 about Russia. We saw Clapper's book, all these books. It was this kind of marginalia on Facebook, as he even admitted. You two guys have been at the forefront of what this information war is now globally, but particularly in the United States, about the Wuhan, Wu-Mao 50 Cent Army. We saw the other day Michael Pack, a long-term colleague, has now gone over to Voice of America, start to clear house. Walk us through, when we talk information war, and let me start with Raheem, you, and then we're going to go to Posobiec. When we talk about information war, in the context of unrestricted warfare, information war, economic war, and kinetic war, what are we talking about? Explain this to the audience.
Well, what's the first rule of unrestricted warfare? There are no rules. And so the information war effectively throws out everything that we have known in every framework by which we've operated with for decades, if not centuries. What we're seeing here now is an incredibly complex and convoluted strategy put into place by the Chinese Communist Party and all of its different outlets. Now, those can be media outlets. These can be arm's length media outlets, such as centers in London where they run things through. It can be the digital side of things, the Wu-Mao Army, the 50 Cent Army, which is real people who are paid a tiny amount of money per post to go and attack certain issues. And we talked about this on War Room before, and only very recently, the Stanford Internet Observatory actually came out with a report dated June the 17th, 2020, that actually walks through how the digital army stuff happens.
Before we get to that report, before I even bring Jack Posobiec in, you probably know as well as anybody, you were over in Ukraine for the Maidan Revolution in the streets. You know information war that was coming from Eastern Europe and from Russia in the whole EU of it all back in 2012, 13. And you just said this is complex. Compare and contrast what was going on then, of which had, the media in the United States so worked up about Trump and Trump's campaign and impeachment and all that, compared to what you're seeing with the PLA, Ministry of State Security, and the CCP today.
At the time, this goes back to 2013, at the time, I looked at what was going on between the European Union, Russia, and with Ukraine in the middle. You had the Maidan activists, which were the guys who really wanted to break the Ukraine away from the Russian sphere of influence and take it into the European Union. And conversely, you had the administration in Ukraine at the time who were trying to do the opposite. And at the time, what was going on there seemed very complex and convoluted. But actually looking at it, 7 years later, with all of this in mind, I mean, the magnitude of complexity that we're talking about here is maybe 1,000 times over.
Oh, come on.
What we saw.
Seriously, for our audience, that's what I want to contextualize. You're saying everything you saw in the EU, all this issues with Ukraine, the invasion of Russia in these different spaces, they were supposed to be so far ahead of the West and so complicated. You're saying you think this is 1,000 times more complex, more sophisticated.
Well, think about it this way. If you had to have a set of hearings about this, like you had hearings about Ukraine, the hearings for this, and to go through line by line everything that's been going on, whether it's media information, digital information, real life disinformation, any of that, it would take you years of hearings to go through it.
I want to go to Posobiec. Posobiec, you're one of the reasons we love having you on the show, besides the fact you speak Mandarin. You're a naval intelligence officer. This is your specialty, right? People know you in the internet, but this was your specialty as a professional. Is Raheem right? Is the level of sophistication they've got in information warfare 1,000 times what we actually saw with the Russians and with people around the Ukraine and this thing that caused the big firestorm in 2016 and beyond?
Yeah, Steve, that's right. So what you're seeing now is a program that essentially China has been building for, in some cases, 10 years now. You could go back further than that even and look at the traditional communist use of propaganda since the 1920s, 1930s. But what you're seeing is something that I tracked in the intelligence community as far back as 2010, 2012. They first really broke forward this program externally with the South China Sea issue. And you would see this in the Philippines, you would see this in Malaysia, you would see this in Vietnam, you would see Chinese information operations talking about the 9-dash line, spreading these pictures around, trying to make it seem as though it was normalized. They were attempting to normalize the idea that this area of international water space was actually integral part of the Chinese sovereignty. Of course, not true, but they would make it seem as though people in the Philippines were saying that. They would make it seem as though people in Vietnam were saying that, etc. At the same time, China was flexing its international muscles in the United States and in the West, primarily from an economic standpoint. That also then turned very quickly into an academic espionage campaign, which also focused on proprietary information from the business community as well as from our military. On the Navy side, our number one issue in terms of espionage, both cyber and physical, was China stealing all of our programs, whether it be for our undersea unmanned vehicles, whether it be for the railgun, whether it be for our new submarines like the Virginia-class submarine, everything that the U.S. military was putting together. In terms of, obviously, I can't go too much into detail on all of that, but let's just say that if you've ever read Blind Man's Bluff, the naval, the old
about the submarines,
the Cold War submarines, let's just say that not much has changed. Only instead of the Soviet Union, now it's the PRC.
You guys are both experts in Antifa. You're also experts in the more cultural Marxist side of BLM and how these things are united. Is the Chinese Communist Party and what they're doing in their social media platforms, are they driving messaging globally that also includes Antifa, BLM, and other operations in Europe and beyond?
Yeah, both overtly and covertly. So one of the things that this Stanford report actually did was go in and show not just how the CCP uses our own platforms, domestic platforms like YouTube, do this up, but also using things like TikTok to spread this message. And one of the platforms that we've seen used time and time again throughout this Antifa and BLM uprising in recent months is the use of TikTok, mass use of TikTok to spread messages. The other part of it is that overtly, they actually have their spokesman. While Twitter is banned in China, they have their spokesman, whether it's the Global Times editor-in-chief or ambassadors, Chinese ambassadors all around the world, pushing messaging into the English-speaking world and into the Western world, and specifically in recent months, comparing the Hong Kong democracy protesters to what's happening with Black Lives Matter, and also saying, hey, actually, we might even invite Black Lives Matter and Antifa representatives to China to have an audience with the Chinese
Is that
government.
trolling us?
It is trolling us, and also it's kind of both legitimizing BLM and Antifa to a way for a globalist audience, and also attempting to delegitimize Hong Kong democracy protesters.
I want to get to the two Jacks. Start with Max. We only got a couple of minutes left here, but I want to get to VOA and the Michael Pack of it all. We've had voices of dissidence, Mara Monahan, many others here about Falun Gong, the Uyghurs, the underground house Christians, the Tibetan Buddhists. President Trump historically hasn't really put people in place that have gone in and cleaned out operations. Rick Grinnell probably being the first at DNI. The selection of Michael Pack, how surprising was it, and how surprising to you, who's covered this daily, that he stepped in immediately and started cleaning house?
Well, not only was it surprising, it was thoroughly gratifying to see him go in there with the broadsword and swing it around the office, you know? I mean, these are the kind of people that we need. And one of the things that I love, you mentioned Richard Grinnell, right? This guy is one of my heroes at this point. And let's also remember, he's the most high-ranking person of, a gay or lesbian person in the history of America.
Openly gay, to be like a cabinet member.
And he's a complete badass. You know, you want to change things. You don't need law. You need to put more guys like Richard Grinnell in there to change some minds.
We got about a minute, Jack Posobiec. Is Voice of America, how important is that in using how important is using platforms like Voice of America? And how shocked are you as a naval officer that Voice of America had been allowed to kind of creep over to kind of having soft CCP programming?
Well, Steve, that's actually quite shocking because Voice of America is intended to be the voice of America's strategic interests throughout the world. I mean, this should be something that doesn't necessarily
strategic communications, right?
Communications, yes.
Right.
And so there shouldn't necessarily be anything that takes one side politically within the United States, whether that be Republican or Democrat, which side is ascendant in U.S. politics, but it should broadly speak to U.S. interests, strategic communications around the globe. It should always have that pro-U.S. facet moving forward and stick to whatever the line is that's coming out of the State Department and not really go far beyond that on their own. They shouldn't be, freelancing in there. They shouldn't be taking broadsides against American citizens in some cases, or as we've now seen, against the American president. I wouldn't expect to see VOA.
You think they turned actually never Trump?
I think there's been a bias that's crept in there, and I wouldn't expect to see VOA criticizing Barack Obama, and I wouldn't expect them to see them criticizing Donald Trump, and yet that doesn't seem to be the case. And so you've got really these sort of new revolutionaries that have been creeping in throughout a number of different institutions in America, and it seems they found their way into VOA as well.
You are an expert and got your chops in Europe, and particularly in Eastern Europe, and the whole conflict between the EU, Russia, and in the United Kingdom. Radio Free Europe during Reagan's time was absolute central. The Pope, Thatcher, Radio Free Europe was critical to our win. You've now shifted the last couple of years and focused now on this global threat of China. Is it shocking to you to see how soft Radio Free Asia and Voice of America become vis-a-vis its historic mandate of what it did as really the clarion call for freedom and democracy, and became one of the central things that helped bring down the Soviet Union?
Well, remember, the British Broadcasting Company was founded to promote the British government's position both at home and overseas, and people knew it as that. Over time, as sort of more independence crept in, you saw the BBC become flooded with
independence and everything except taxpayer money.
Of course, of course. You can't have that. The BBC would never survive commercially. It is reliant on taxpayer money, and by the way, you can go to jail if you do not pay for a television license in the United Kingdom. But instead of representing what the UK thinks and believes and having a diverse viewpoint from all across the United Kingdom, what the BBC does is it hyper-represents London liberal elitists, and we're now seeing that, and we have now seen that with Voice of America as well. One of the things that you have also the National Endowment for Democracy in the United States is another one of these organizations which has been usurped by the sort of cultural Marxist left. And we have to get our heads around the fact that once again, the world is at war with communism. We actually just don't have the same weapons we had last time.
When you say cultural Marxism, this is a term that we use a lot. What do you mean by that? Because it sounds like an explosive term, and people are saying, I know Steve Cortez is getting lit up today by Huffington Post on an article because he used the term cultural Marxism in relation to BLM and Antifa.
This is look, the belief that the Cold War was won, I believe, is an incorrect reading of history. It was a deferred fight against communism. It was a winning the battle, not winning the war. And cultural Marxism was really the means by which to implement communist ideas and values and destroy a capitalist, more market-driven economy from the inside out. And that's what cultural Marxism is in a nutshell.
Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. When we return, Miles Groh is going to be on to enlighten us more about the Voice of America and also the CCP's information war against the United States.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
The Chinese Communist Party's war, information war against the United States of America. That is our special. I want to thank all of our distribution partners for helping out today and putting this together. Have Jack Posobiec from One American News, former naval officer, speaks fluent Mandarin, Jack Maxey, Raheem Kassam, and we're now honored to be joined by Miles Guo. And Jack, I want you to do your introduction and say hi to Miles.
国先生好啊。国先生你好啊。
Hi, Sir Steve. Hi, Chris. Hi, Jill. Everybody. How are you? Very.
How you doing, Miles?
高兴认识啊，高兴认识。
We thought we'd change it up by having finally somebody that could speak Mandarin, Miles.
Jackie, you speak Mandarin better than me.
没什么的，哪里。
Miles, we just finished a segment, the opening segment, talking about information war of the CCP. And, Jack was a naval officer that focused, obviously, on China. Jack Maxey's an old China hand, as am I. But Raheem has come to this after focusing on Europe for the last couple of years, and he made a point that the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP's information war, in its complexity, in its scale, is 1,000 times bigger and more thorough than the Russians ever thought about. You're the expert on this, with GTV and G News and all these other sites that have your broadcast up on, and we thank our partners at G News and GTV for putting on in Mandarin later all these shows. But is Raheem right? Is what the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party's information war against the United States, is it actually 1,000 times more sophisticated, more complex, and bigger than what the Russians ever did?
Hi, sir, everybody. We talk about CCP, the warfare. You use the Russia comparative. This is the warfare, and this is the 1,000 times different. I totally disagree, sir. Russia is too small. CCP is the big evil. Also, I think everything is because America is too high. America think everything about the CCP. You are think it's the root of the law. You think the principle. You think the human. You think the democracy. But you are too high. CCP is 100% evil and against her. That's American big trouble. So Russia, not wonderful, it's the democracy country, but Russia still have the root of the law, have the principle. CCP is against her. It's the super layer. They know principle. That's Americans think everything is too high. Another thing is the warfare. This is all Randy the broker. This is all the guy is. I know everybody. I face to face talk many times. They very clear the principle. How can use low cost? Take American go to where? Make American unstable and kill Americans. That's why American lose job. They lose the technology, and now also get this big coronavirus. American people die any hours, any seconds. This is why if America before really seriously think CCP, the regime is against her, they have one goal. Wear America, make America unstable, kill America. America more safer. You cannot say now Americans go to disaster way. That's why Americans now need to quickly wake up, sir. There's a war room, Sir Stephen Bannon, Jackie, Chris, Jill, you do good job. Wake up, America. Now we're, the warfare, not only in the, information, not only in the economy, not only in the technology, in everywhere. America now in the world, sir. Thank you.
I just want to go back, Miles. That's pretty bold. You said America's too high and things too high. What you're saying is that you think America, for some reason, has been asleep, or we consider the CCP too high, like they have rule of law, or they're playing by the same rules we play by. Is that what you mean? Is that they're playing by a whole different set of rules, which is no rule of law, anything that leads to victory, whether it's destabilizing America, but their objective, the objective of the Chinese Communist Party, is the destruction of the United States of America?
100% correct, sir. CCP as the, it's the central, government. They owned all the China, everything, land, money, asset, army, intelligence. All the 1.4 billion people, only one voice, CCP way. One leader, Xi Jinping and Wang Qishan, the team, central area. So they make any policy. All the countries follow them. China, no regime, no government. They only have this. The dictator is called CCP. The CCP, dictator is the CCP. They only one goal. They want to lead in the world. They want to control the world. Who can influence the CCP? Control the world, influence the world. Only one power, America. So this is why before 30 years. Before I in the jail, I release me every day nearly with the CCP members together. I try understand CCP. I find out CCP everything. I want one day find opportunity to take down CCP. That's why I talk everything based on inside intelligence. I know CCP the last 30 years as all the president and the president family and the central committee members. I know Hu Jintao, I know Jiang Zemin, I know Li Keqiang. You look at this, I know everybody, Xi Jinping, Wang Qishan. Every CCP they know. They want to control the world, they want to hold the world, they want leading the world, but only one power can stop them, America. How can take American down? They think we really have the war impossible with America. They make it very smart, very black power called warfare. Warfare is the low cost, kill you, take down you, make you unstable. This is anti-war. This is the website and propaganda. This is why you look at the Facebook, YouTube, CNN, all the American media, West side media. Nobody talk Hong Kong movement. Nobody talk who steal your job, who steal your money, and about the coronavirus, any truth. Don't forget, sir, I wish you talk about the coronavirus. 2019, December 31 with Steve K. Bannon. To 2020, January 16, I with Sir Steve Bannon broadcast in the root of the law, talk coronavirus. The coronavirus must become America. It's CCP, WHOC. Oh, this is not man-to-man, people-to-people. We can control. This is from nature. You and me together broadcast. We see, no, this must be, it's from the man-made. It's definitely people-to-people. It's the quickly come America. They make this biological weapon from the laptop. It's the laptop, it's the Wuhan. That's why America is all the media, all the people saying, oh, this is cannot, because you think too high. This is rule of the law. This is criminal. You cannot do this. CCP, totally different than you. You think it cannot. They think it must be do. You think we are everything by rule of the law. We everything by, we talk, we keep promise. They lie, they cheat you, they use you, anything, small things, strategy. Only one thing, take down America, kill America, we America. That's why they cannot fight to you. They not the capability to win America. But they put your room, American room, Mosquito. The poison Mosquito make America is unstable. If your bedroom one mosquito, maybe you just uncomfortable, but they put 1 million mosquito put in your bedroom and have the poison, you must be died. Mosquito. That's CCP warfare. Warfare. They talk this. Put a small mosquito, low cost, to American bedroom. 1 million, 10 million, too low cost. But you cannot fight 2 million mosquito, poison mosquito. That's the CCP mosquitoes. That's the CCP. All the things. So they don't like to pay intellectual property the cost. If they steal technology, they steal your money. They fundamentally take down the dollar. 3 years ago, they have the idea. This is why they always talk. Now, two strong country special relationship, China with America. That's stupid. Secondly, say, America with China together leading the world. That's all the CCP things. Then it's can buy Wall Street, can buy American media. Then it's steal your job. Then take down your dollar. Then it's the warfare. That's why they control YouTube, Google, Facebook, Twitter. That's too ridiculous. Sir, you look at 2017, I'm in the Twitter. Every day,
Miles,
30,000 people follow me.
Miles, hang on one sec.
Yeah.
We're capitalists, so we're going to take a commercial break, sell some ads. We're going to come back to you in a couple minutes in the next break. Miles Guo, War Room Pandemic Special. That's CCP's information war against the United States. Raheem Kassam, Jack Posobiec, Jack Maxey, Stephen K. Bannon, and the one and only Miles Guo will return in just a minute after a short commercial break.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back to the War Room Pandemic Special, the CCP's information war against America. Our guest is Miles Guo. Miles, there's a consensus here in the War Room in Washington, D.C. We certainly wish you were in the U.S. Senate because we'd like to see somebody step up and as good as Tom Cotton and Josh Hawley, Marco Rubio, but really throw down and talk about the CCP's primary goal is to destroy the United States of America. So I want to pivot. We got two things we got to get through this segment. Number one is VOA. The only time in the history of the Voice of America, which has a lineage that is unbelievable as far as institutions in this country, the only time they ever pulled and stopped and shut down a live interview in its history is when they shut down the interview of you, where you were calling out the Chinese Communist Party at the highest levels for HNA and being a money laundering operation, an influence peddling operation, and everything you said about HNA. This took place in April 2017. In 3 years, it's all been proven correct, including the point that HNA, that at the time had a private valuation of around $1 trillion, is now in bankruptcy in receivership in China, to the detriment of the Chinese people of Lao Beijing, who have to end up paying the debts. I want to ask you, Miles, over the last few days, a gentleman named Michael Pack has finally gotten confirmation in the Senate. He stepped in and eviscerated VOA. And I know you're not involved in American politics. You don't want to be. But internationally, particularly as people, the enslaved people in China, as you see the changes that have been made to VOA, what are your, and you were central to this, what are your thoughts on that, on this massive leadership change that Michael Pack has done by essentially firing the top 6 to 8 people?
Thank you, sir. I remember first time I meet you in the DC 2017. First time meeting you, you asked me about the VOA. This is the 419, these issues. You gave me a lot of, about the use, about the VOA 419, the issues. That's why I really admire you. You look at this, the truth. But now American government make the decisions so good, but too late. Okay, this is I talk about warfare. Warfare in China, PLA, they have a strategy. use American money, take down America. Use American people, take down America. Use American breeding, take down America. VOA and Free Asia, this is the problem, this is the issue, can good, sample can show America. CCP, how smart, use American money and use American, take it down and we are America. That's the strategy. So, VOA, Free Asia, is every year, 100 million is from the, American pay the tax, okay? But the money they use, create American, the democracy go to the world, make a fair democracy freedom. But, Free Asian region and VOA, they totally different. They use American money and American people. You look in the VOA and the Free Asia, all the last 30 years people, they interview the guy. They every month take money from the VOA and the Free Asia, but all the people anti-America. All the people anti-President Trump. All the people suppose CCP in the Hong Kong movement, raise the people, rape the people, kill the people. Also, if the VOA, the working, the people, Sasha Gong, is the American citizen, take the American passport, it's the high level of the people. But she also convince Congress, give the CCP the field trial the contract. You look at last 30 years, who in the VOA and the Free Asia? Then look at everybody, why all the body anti-Miles Guo with the Peru movement? Why all 100% people is anti-Trump president? Why is 100% people the anti-Hong Kong movement? Never help America. That's a big problem. This is very symbolic, okay? You can find out CCP, how deep in the America, BGY can buy the America. Americans huge trouble. Sir, how do you think America pays every year 100 million money against America? That's very symbolic. Also the YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, they have the $1.5 billion, $1 trillion value. But they don't talk give America about the CCP, about the BGY, about the 3F, the program, give all the America. They make America wear, district, and defect, and lose money, and lose job. Who must be take the responsibility, sir? Americans need to think about why we are too many people die. We never see anything from the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, VOA, Free Asia. Why all the people is anti-America, anti-President Trump? I don't want to talk American inside political, but why CCP can 100% control all the people in America? That's America's huge problem. It's a huge country, but you look, the 100% is the CCP can buy. This is why 3 years ago I said America now is deep power in the black time. You need to quickly wake up. CCP want kill you, want take down you, reverse you. This is a country strategy. This is American only two choice strategy. One choice, die and fight back. Sir, thank you.
Die or fight back. Okay, I want to pivot now to Raheem Kassam. I want to talk about this study. Miles is going on, hey, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, on, and they're saying, hey, that's Miles Guo. His hair's on fire. He's like Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon's hair's always on fire or something. Stanford actually comes out and does an assessment of at least part of this. And I want you to pull the camera back, Raheem, give the bigger picture, give your analysis then of Stanford, and then I'm going to bring Miles back in.
So I want to put the graphic from Stanford up on the screen. Yeah,
if we can put the graphic up, yeah.
It's up there right now. And you can see the Stanford report called Sock Puppets Spin COVID Yarns, an analysis of PRC attributed June 2020 Twitter takedown.
Now, this is so important. I want to show this cover again. This is not One American News. This is not Breitbart. This is not National Pulse. And this is not War Room. This is Stanford University. And they're the official guys that are officially designated to monitor this, correct?
Right. This is Twitter's official partner observatory that goes through all of these things. And like you say, this is just a snapshot because they actually do this every so often. On this occasion, they focused on a very limited period of time, but they did it last year as well. I just want to bring out some of the key critical elements, especially with what Miles was saying there. Not just about TikTok, which is, as we know, is controlled by a Chinese company, but also the domestic use of YouTube, Facebook, all these other things. Now, the level of intervention we're seeing here digitally makes any quote-unquote Russian interference that we saw in 2016 look completely like a minnow. The scale that we're talking about is completely different. On 11th of June 2020, Twitter announced the takedown of a collection of 23,750 accounts attributed to the People's Republic of China, with technical indicators linking the operation to the same actor responsible for the network of 200,000 accounts previously suspended in August 2019. Now, if you'll remember, when they said that Russia intervened, and they said that Russia intervened in Brexit as well, they were talking about high hundreds, if low thousands of accounts. We're now talking about nearly 250,000 accounts in this report.
You're telling many orders of magnitude bigger than what Russia ever did relating to Brexit or what they ever did related to Trump in 2016.
But because the activity here and the image that we showed on screen a second ago, I'll explain, because the activity here is targeted at Hong Kong protesters, Taiwan, COVID-19, and Miles Guo, you don't see this on CNN. You don't see this on CNBC. You don't see it on the front page of the New York Times. But you can go through this yourself, and I commit this to people to look into, because you actually only need to go through about the first 6 or 7 pages to get the full story, and then the rest of it is the evidence behind it, and you can go into that too. But I just want to make clear for people that the 4 key categories that we see these accounts, these CCP bot accounts, intervening in is Hong Kong, Taiwan, COVID-19, and what they call Guo Wenji, Miles Guo, who saw you on screens just a second ago. Now, it goes into some analysis about how the accounts work, the percentage of the tweets that are used, and what they actually show. And then it actually goes into a distinction between what the top domains are that are used to spread Chinese disinformation. Quote, of the top domains shared by the network, YouTube was by far the most shared, 12,580 times. That is a Google-owned company. The same Google that recently set up the China Center, the same Google whose lead on the China Center is now on the on the Twitter advisory board, excuse me. Most of the other channels shared by the network had a smaller audience, with the videos shared in the dataset from these channels were about Hong Kong, Guo, and COVID-19. The majority of the content on these smaller channels was TikTok videos.
Unbelievable. And now I want to go to, I want to turn back go ahead, jump in
Just
here.
one key thing that I haven't shown you yet, Steve, that you might be interested in.
I think
inside the Stanford report.
A picture of yours truly, not one of my better ones. Miles, I want to bring you in now. And this was independent assessment of the guys that are charged to do this at Stanford University, the observatory. They came up with, if it's Hong Kong protests, COVID-19, or Miles Guo, this is where the bulk of this is coming from. So, Miles, you've been attacked relentlessly by the CCP, right? And then they're saying, oh, he's a marginal figure, et cetera. But you see when you actually do the analysis that a big bulk of these attacks in this misinformation campaign is targeted to you. The question the audience always has in the United States, Miles, why is the CCP so targeted you? Why is it? We got about 2 minutes before we got to go to commercial break, but in 2 minutes, why has the CCP targeted you on social media so strongly?
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate the Stanford University and make the report. This is the only one small voice can talk the truth about me, about the whistleblower movement. I really appreciate this report, but it's not 100% true. CCP, at the last 30 years, never get one guy is talk the CCP the truth. Also, never have the one is the people is talk American with the CCP make any the black deal the truth. Before I talk to you and with you together talk many times, CCP have the goat, tiger, take down America. This is why CCP worry me. I was an insider before in the China. I know CCP, the inside truth. I'm not the gossip. I'm not just whistleblower. I know that everything belongs. I'm insider before know many CCP the truth. That's why for 19 in the VOA I talk American the voice. I will talk Wang Qishan, ICNA, all the China entrepreneur in America, make a corruption, combine a lot of American officially peoples work with the CCP, make Americans dangerous. So CCP now, Miles Guo know more the truth, more the secret, and ICNA, Jack Ma, Bernard Wu, and in America, how many spy systems, and now how many American people work with
Miles, Miles, we're going to take a short commercial break. We'll return in a couple of minutes with Miles Guo and the rest of the War Room team. CCP's War Against America.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back to War Room Pandemic Special. The CCP, that would be the Chinese Communist Party's information war against America. You've got the War Room posse, Jack Posobiec, Raheem Kassam, Jack Maxey, Stephen K. Bannon, our special guest, Miles Guo, who's been a target of the Chinese Communist Party ever since he left China. Miles, we only have a few minutes, but I want to, one of this thing that's come out of is this whistleblower movement that since you've come out, thousands of Chinese nationals inside of China have inundated your operation and you with information that's happening in China, and that led to this creation of the new federal state of China, kind of this entity that says it's going to take down the CCP. Rumor has it that Tiger Yang, one of the reasons he wanted to meet with Pompeo in Hickam Field at Pearl Harbor was to discuss what exactly is going on with this new federal state. So can you concisely explain to our audience the whistleblower movement in the new federal state of China?
Thank you, sir. I know it's the Pompeo Yang Jiechi meeting in the Hawaii. Fundamentally talk all about the new federal state of China. They worry in the new federal state of China. So because you and me created China, the new regime by its democracy and freedom. They know, they worry Americans support us, really can take down the CCP. They worry this, they want to make a black deal, kill me and take you down and cheat America again, cheat the Trump president again. But, sir, I want you in here talk what is the whistleblower movement. Whistleblower movement, we are, the gold. Only one, take down the CCP in China and rescue the world. But if we want to take down the CCP, Americans have dangerous, we are going to disaster way also. Only one way can make Chinese, all the world go to peace the way, stable way. American must be great again. American leading the world, we can have the peace the world, we have good future. Chinese really can build a new regime, have democracy and freedom. That's my all things. Why? America lost the 300 years. Big blood created the human global the world, have a democracy and freedom, rule of the law. That's America. So I want first that American now don't get the CCP, use the American dollar, use American technology, take down America. If American die, everybody is go to disaster. This is why YouTube, to Google, Facebook, also this is the social media, they all combine the CCP, they take down America, they anti-America, they anti-Trump president, they make trouble give America, they want to help CCP, take down American dollar. That's the global trouble. So first of all, whistleblower movement want to make American great again, make American stronger dollar, make American more safer, can help Chinese take down the CCP, build a new region, is to have the rule of the law, democracy, free religion. This is my goal. This is why I really appreciate Sir Stephen Bannon. And this is War Room, Jackie, Chris, Jill, everybody help Chinese talk the truth, give the word. I really appreciate you help the world to talk to CCP, not including Chinese. Chinese, not including CCP. This is totally different. This is big, sir. This is huge. Last night, many people say, please, Miles, talk to Stephen Bannon. We are really appreciate. We know just today, CCP not represent the country. The CCP not represent Chinese. You look at the way hero, Hao Haidong and the wife. It's the wife, the big contribution will fight CCP with you and me. He talked to me, Stephen Bannon, and you give my truth. I anti-CCP, not anti-Chinese, not anti my country. We are because Chinese need justice, American need truth. Then we need to take down the CCP because we need the world to go to peace, safer, American great again. I want the American know the truth. Don't get the CCP, use American dollar, use American technology, help CCP, take down America. American die, CCP, no future. CCP is the guy crazy leading the world. Chinese no future. That's why I'm with the Blue Movement. Build new federal state of China. Chinese need new region, but need to follow America. Make America 1,000 years peaceful contract. Only this can make Chinese good future. Not by CCP, use the smart, the solution called make a hatred. Chinese hatred America, make America hatred Chinese. I want to really appreciate Sir Steve King Bannon. You big help Chinese in the West of the world, in the more safer. You talk to the Western world is the truth. CCP not including Chinese. Chinese not including CCP. Chinese love America. Chinese want to take down CCP because we need the rule of the law and freedom of democracy. Thank you, sir.
Miles Guo, thank you very much for joining us here in our special. Real quick, we got about a minute left. How come this thing about YouTube and all these big technology companies, when somebody like Miles Guo gets so fired up, why are the networks, why is this not on nonstop? Why is this not one of the biggest stories they're covering, Raheem?
There is a big revolving door between establishment media, traditional media, and digital media as well, Jack.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You're seeing people move in and out of this sort of think tank, public sector, civil service, and then go immediately into these media.
But conservative media is getting shut out now by these guys actively. Miles Guo is telling you exactly what is going on in their partnerships. I don't understand why conservative media, it's not a firestorm every day. It should be this one of the biggest stories they're covering, and it's just kind of crickets.
Well, you have to understand as well that a lot of these media companies retain conservative lobbyists to keep conservative websites and keep conservative legislators from talking about this.
Now, I take it that you, One America and National Pulse are going to be getting into this because this should be one of the central, not just conservatives against the CCP, but about this big tech kind of this convergence that's suppressing voices here in this country.
Yep, we keep going into it, and I know One American News does too.
That's right. The lobbyists, we have the document.
Get what's your Twitter handle?
It's Jack Posobiec, JCKPOSOBIEC, OneAmericanNews, OANN.com.
Okay, I want to thank AVN, all of our partners here for this special CCP's war, information war against the United States.